This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
Well, g'day. How you going? Let's see if we've got sound. Who's in the comments? I better make sure. I'm only working off the laptop tonight, so fingers crossed that the sound is coming out. Can't even see anybody in comments at the moment, so maybe there isn't. At any rate, I'll press on until I see somebody that says they can't hear me. Good evening, Sue. What's on the sound versus no sound? Brett, thanks for your support there, Brett. Appreciate it. Good man. Thank you all. Looks like sound is working. That's a good deal. Welcome along to the Friday Free-for-All. Do I look tired? I'm a bit knackered. Had a great night last night in Canberra. Met some wonderful people. Did a great show with Kaz. What a magnificent lady she is. She's a wealth of knowledge. Seems to have stirred a bit of a pot with the fees and charges that are being charged. Folks, that's a decision for you. It all comes out of the super. It's nothing that you aren't already paying, I don't believe. But it's your business. You look into it. That's the best way I can think about it at this stage. It's a decision for you to make and nobody else. So take your time with that and we'll see what happens. Just having a bit of a look. Oh, yes, we've got a couple of guests coming on tonight, the Guru and the Aussie Cossack. Given last night's little interruption that we had with Cass's internet being taken down and we had to reset and get another one up and running, that might happen again tonight. We'll see what happens. We've made it to Victoria. What a beautiful drive today. I've got to say, I haven't been in Victoria for 4 years, near enough to 4 years. In fact, almost exactly 4 years. And I've certainly not been in regional Victoria. The last time I was in regional Victoria, it was very, very, very dry. Can't say that about it now. The state itself, if you don't mind the lying water, at least the parts I've driven through today are absolutely beautiful. In fact, all the way along the Hume from Canberra, green as green as green. There is a lot of feed for cattle. We do have questions about what else they're feeding the cattle, but that'll be in another show. So, yeah, if there is anything I'd like to say about that today is that the rivers are all high. Coming over the Murray today, just outside of Albury, it's still a few metres, probably 3 or 4 metres below the Hume highway level of the bridge there. But on either side of it, it's blown its banks. It's well out. There's a lot of water moving and it's moving pretty swift. So I imagine that's all coming from the dam. We didn't get a chance to stop at the dam today, unfortunately. As we came through Albury today, certainly there through the causeway, the river's right up there. It's still a few metres away from the bottom of the bridge, but still a lot of water there. So I think the water is still coming, from what I understand, out of the mountains, and there's going to be more coming in the next few days as that melt continues. Not sure about the situation for our Shepparton shows. We're in town for a show in South Morang. We're doing that tomorrow afternoon. It'll get underway from 2 o'clock. If you want to join us live for that, Darren Berghoff will be joining us, and so will Craig Cole from A1. We'll be talking Victorian politics, and we'll be talking about people's councils. In fact, you're going to hear a lot about people's councils over the next few weeks, and I really hope it gets you motivated enough to want to learn more and start one of your own. They're not hard, and we can help you out with getting that started and the advice they might need and hooking you up with the right people to make sure it's ratified the correct way. Of course, I'm referring to Spiros there. So there's a lot of good news coming in the near future with that, but this is predominantly what you're going to hear us talking about as we travel through Victoria and down into Tasmania, which both are very badly water affected in certain areas at the moment. Now, Shepparton, I believe, is certainly cut off from one, if not possibly two, angles at the moment. By the time we depart where we are, which is south of Shepparton and north of Melbourne, we will be potentially cut off on the Golden Valley Highway if it's not already cut. I remember from years ago that it used to get cut in a couple of places along there. Unless they've done some major roadworks and built it up, that'll still be the same. There's a lot of Murray, that's out of the Goulburn. There's a lot of Murray water river water rather, coming from the north. Echuca, Rochester on the Campese is under at the moment. Benalla is going under at the moment. So we're thinking of people in those towns and wishing them all the best as they hopefully have had enough warning to get their valuables above what is the predicted waterline and get themselves to safety. There have been emergencies set up, as we've been listening all day today, emergency centres set up all through the affected areas. Melbourne particularly, it sounds massive, and certainly it is difficult for the people who are affected. The Maribyrnong River is known for flooding, particularly in moderate to heavy rains. It doesn't need to be a downpour. The areas that are flooded are expected and have always expected to be flooded in those sorts of events. So there's nothing too outlandish yet, but there is a lot more water coming. So that's likely to get worse in the coming days. Same for what's happening along the Murray, and I suspect what's happening in the Goulburn and other river systems, the Ovens, the King. There are a few others that are floating around. Just can't think of the names at the moment. They're all under heavy flood warning. So seriously would like to wish everybody in those areas the best of luck, and I hope you've managed to get out safe. Tonight, I invited Simeon and Guru to pop in and have a bit of a chat, because between the two of them, they've got quite an initiative that's happening on the 22nd of October. And, well, for the first time ever, Guru hasn't been sitting here waiting to join us. But, ladies and gentlemen, the Aussie Cossack himself has come to life, and he's not driving. He might be sitting in the driver's seat, but he is not driving. Good evening, my friend. How are you?
Good evening, Carl. Great to be with you again. How are you?
Yeah, very good indeed. Been a busy week for you,
mate. Non-stop. You know, I saw my parole officer today, and he's looking at me thinking, you know, are you for real? You know, they obviously let me out. They let me out of jail because they thought I'm going to be quiet, but you know, absolutely the opposite happened.
Yeah,
but
so can we just ask, before you got out, before you were allowed to make the appeal, if you like, or got into court for it, did anybody suggest to you, look, you know, this will go easier on you if you say, look, Your Honour, I'm not going to speak out. I'm just going to shrink away and become a quiet bloke who goes off to an odd dinner party now and again? Was that pressure ever applied to you?
Look, there are options, especially during the bail hearings, for me to surrender social media, for me to surrender access, you know, to communications, and basically to stop me from broadcasting and getting any message out. And of course, there was no compromise possible. You know, I did the time, and we obviously didn't get any of those bail conditions, and we were not going to agree to any of those bail conditions, because those conditions are basically, you know, it's one thing to sit in jail, but it's another thing to then surrender your voice. And of course, in Australia, we have quite limited freedoms really when it comes to censorship and what can be said and what can't be said. You know, look at your example, Carl. You know, you're basically a mainstream media journalist who is a refugee because you spoke out and said the truth. You know, you've been you're working for all sorts of radio networks all over the country, and some of the biggest in the country. And you know, because you're not willing to toe the party line and stick to the narrative, as they call it, you know, that's you are someone who, you know, has to be an independent journalist. And you know, to be quite honest, independent journalists are the future of this country and the future of the free world.
I'll just make it clear, I'm not a journalist. I've never been a journalist. I have worked in the broadcast game for a long time, but my area of expertise more lies in production and voiceovers and presenting shows. So never been a journalist, but I have read a lot of news. I have produced a lot of news stories, and I have a very good understanding of what's required ethically from a journalist, because I worked with ethical journalists back in the day. Today, the journalists that are being pumped out of our universities, Simeon, aren't journalists at all. They are merely sprouting the doctrine that has been taught to them from, their leaders standing in the lecture hall who they seem to idolise for one reason or another. Quite a lot of those people who are standing there giving the lectures, Simeon, are also people who've never worked successfully in mainstream media, but seem to believe they know how to teach people about it. I find this amongst the most offensive things that are taught in our universities. People who have never been a success in an industry can stand up and educate people how to be a success in it. I find that very difficult to understand. But there are a lot of difficult things. Mate, the Guru has joined us. Oh, look, see now tonight. Good evening, Guru. How are you, mate?
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Simeon. Yeah, I had to get my show over and done with, Carl. Sorry before I jumped in here, mate. But how are you guys?
No. I know. It's a race between you guys to see who's going to turn up last. It's like the bride coming to the wedding.
Hey, the Kelly brothers win, mate, I think, tonight.
Mate, we're up. Got mine on. It's the only wind shooter I've got that can keep me warm, so I'm very rarely out of it. So, boys, thank you for joining me for another Friday Free for All. Just been having a bit of a chat with Simeon and what's going on in his part of the world in Sydney this week. The parole officer, mate, I've just got to I'll finish off with this. The parole officers, do they just shake their heads at you when you come in and say, well, here I am today, and sign your piece of paper or whatever it is you've got to do? They just don't hold you up, is I guess what I'm getting at.
Look, regardless of what the parole officers think, we've got a very important job to do, all of us at the moment. It's up to us on the 22nd of October to stave off a very dangerous predicament for Australia. The way Albanese, Richard Marles and Penny Wong are handling things, they're not only going to endanger the whole country, but it's a reckless waste of taxpayers' money. $500 million, on top of the $400 million they've already sent. That's close to $1 billion that this Labor government is now pushing towards financing a foreign proxy war, which is, full of mercenaries and all sorts of NAZI groups and all sorts of, very corrupt, bad ideology, genocide, war crimes, and frankly, terrorism. I mean, there are now units that the Americans have contracted there because they're trying to throw everything at the Russians. There are now ISIS units and ALQAEDA units. There are foreign mercenaries everywhere. So it's very important for us as a country, as a nation, to really get out on the 22nd and march for Australian neutrality. Look, if the Americans want to do another Afghanistan or another, and there's the poster, and the Americans want to do another Afghanistan or another Vietnam, or if the Americans want to, commit $80 billion of weapons like they did in Afghanistan, we need to steer clear of it. And it's a very important message. I know you guys are very well across this, and thank you, Guru, for spreading the word out there. I think this poster that we're looking at, these pictures, this Russian and Australian, this man is your friend, he fights for freedom. It's actually this poster dates back to World War II, where Russia and Australia were always allies. And you ask any Russian, they'll tell you Australia's an ally. You ask any Australian, they'll tell you Russia's an ally. It's only now in the last, few years that this globalist agenda is pushing Australia into a conflict, into a war against Russia. And this is all about, is Australia a colony or is Australia its own country? We used to have referendums in this country about going to war and conscription and getting involved, right? And that's how serious it is, in the days of Billy Hughes and so forth. If we can have referendums of, whether two women and two blokes want to get married, I'm sure we can have a referendum on an issue of committing ourselves to war. There should be a moratorium. No more arms shipments from Australia. First of all, we don't have the weapons and we don't have the money. $500 million. That's a lot of families that could be helped. That's a lot of people in Lismore, in the floods area, That's a lot of people all over the country. So, guys, again, we've got 7 days or 8 days to go. It's gone nationwide. We've got Perth, we've got Melbourne, we've got Adelaide, and it's great to see. And guys, this is a completely organic movement. Anyone who wants to suggest that this has been, organized or something, this has just been, just like us sitting here today having a chat. Yeah, it's just come out of thin air, and it's amazing the thousands and thousands of Australians that are putting their hands up and saying, I want to march for neutrality. I'm willing to walk out in my town, my city, and actually say no to war. And if there is going to be a war, it should be without Australia's involvement. And that's really great to see that Australians are sensible, that Australians are disagreeing with basically Albanese and Penny Wong and Richard Marles, who are really doing what the globalists want. Unfortunately, our country at the moment, our leaders are not serving Australians' interests in domestic policy or foreign policy. What they're doing in domestic policy. Look at the price of bread, price of petrol. They're taking away the government excise on fuel, 25 or 30 cents a litre. Now that's $500 million right there. So why should we have to pay 25 cents extra for petrol in Australia? Why should our teachers and truck drivers and construction workers and students and struggling families have to pay extra so we can save that money only to send it over to a corrupt regime overseas in a foreign war? It's absolutely outrageous.
And whilst we have that corrupt regime here, Simeon, we're going to keep paying those prices, mate. So, yeah, this war is on all fronts, folks. We got to get the Russia thing out, all right, and we got to continue on from there. Anything that gets organised for the people to win this war for humanity, we've got to be behind. But, yeah, as Simeon said, I also believe this is a very, very important thing. Now, Simeon's got the contacts. Carl's got the contacts here in Australia. He's got Carl's, we've all got contacts in other places. And we need to get this word out that Australia, and what we're doing by doing this, guys, is we're exposing our government, okay, to the world. We're exposing our government that we, the people, are saying that our government is corrupt, and we're getting another word out. We're getting it into the Russian people, and I'm really excited about it, Simeon. I think it's a great thing, mate, and I just want to see more of it. I don't want to see more wars, but I want to see more of this unity of people realising that, yeah, we're just getting sucked in by the deep state. This is all Luciferian deep state stuff, folks.
So what are we hoping to force? If we can get a lot of people to turn up at these gatherings, I like to call them reassemblies. I'm not going to call them protests. Yep. I like the idea of us reassembling, and it is the power of the people that will do this. We are all the weapon. Individually, we're not much of a weapon, but when we join together, we're the biggest weapon there is. And we reassemble that weapon at events like this, where we all get behind the sentiment that I think Simeon has very aptly put forward. None of us want to be in a war with Russia. None of us want to be in a war full stop, particularly not one that these black-hatted bastards have propagated and pushed. So I think that's great. But let's say we get 100,000. Let's say we get 200,000. Let's say we get 1 million people turn up at Sydney Town Hall on the 22nd. What next? They all go home. We all go home thinking we've great. We've achieved something. We were part of something today. But what did we actually achieve? Will it stop?
Well, that's an excellent question. It's an excellent question, Carl.
Yeah, I'll answer after you, Simeon.
Sure. You're spot on. There could be 1,000, could be 5,000, 100,000, 50,000. Let me just put it this way: anything more than 1,000 or 2,000 is already massive. That's already enough to show something. So once you get to 5,000, 10,000 protesters, 20,000, there really is not much difference, and we all know that. Once there's a crowd, there's a crowd, and there's an atmosphere, there's an atmosphere. What we're doing is we're sending a message to the politicians. If we don't do this, if we don't walk out and march for neutrality, the politicians can then make excuses. Oh, well, the people didn't ask us to. Oh, well, we were just following the, defense chief officer's advice. There was no people on the streets. There was no community consultation. The community wasn't interested. And at the moment, all our politicians are listening to is the voice of basically, NAZI, UKRAINE lobby groups in Australia. Now, there are people that live here in Australia who are all over our politicians, in their ear all day, starting from the UKRAINE ambassador, who is just coming out every day doing press conferences saying Australia needs to send us more weapons. Australia needs to get involved. Australia needs to send troops. Australia needs another 500 million. Give us. And you know what? Deep down inside, Penny Wong and Richard Marles know exactly what this is about. And they probably are smart enough, and our intelligence agencies and our law enforcement agencies, our strategic government, advisory agencies are smart enough to know that it is a corrupt regime over there, and that this taxpayer money is basically being laundered, right? But the big but is Richard Marles, Penny Wong, Albanese, they do not work for us. They don't work for Australia. They don't even represent Australia. And Guru, I'll hand it over to you. You can tell us who they actually work for.
Well, we know who they work for, but I don't want to get Carl barred off his channel. So yeah,
Well,
that's not hard.
let me just say, I found it interesting today as I was driving from Queanbeyan into Canberra. It says sister city of Canberra, Beijing, China.
Yeah, exactly. So
Carl
just answered the question for you right there, folks. Okay. But look, I think what we've got to get out of this, Simeon, and I put this back onto you because you know me, I'm a great delegator, and you know I'm always pushing for people to use their skill sets. And if we had everybody in this freedom movement use their own individual skill set, you know what they were good at in life, Simeon, you know, we'd have this thing won tomorrow, mate. If we could get that unity and everyone to know what their little piece was in the puzzle. But we need some mainstream media coverage on this. I think that's what my intent shows me, guys, that we need to get it out to Russia and let Putin know. And we know, Simeon, you can get that done for us because the Russian people will pick up on it and the Russian media. But how do we actually, you know, get notoriety that we've actually get some sort of mention on mainstream media and they're not told, Simeon, that they were there for a pro-abortion rally or something? You know what I mean? Like,
so I have a suggestion for that. And Simeon, I'll be interested in your
Please, call me Cossack.
Sorry, Cossack. I would be very keen to hear your idea on this.
Stop the riot.
We can't. Oh, excellent. I can't see a way that we can get 10, 20, 100,000 people out in front of Channel 7, Channel 9, the ABC, Channel 10 and have any effect whatsoever because they can.
Let me make a very controversial.
So let me finish, Simeon. Sorry, Cossack. What we can do is like we did for you while you were in jail, is we can have them letter bombed every day by 10,000 people. So the stars that you see reading the news to you, send them a letter. Outline the facts that are publicly known facts, you know, that there are no real proof. There is no proof at all of anything to do with the jabby jab, that, you know, all the things that we know they're not reporting. Put those in your letter and photocopy it and send it every day. Send it to every TV star you can think of that you're influenced by, every newsreader. Send it to every board member of every television and every radio station. Send it to every radio personality. Send it to every mainstream media person, because we can't get 100,000 people through their front doors, but we can get 100,000 pieces of mail every day. Could that have an effect on them?
All right. So we have reinforcements. We have a plan B. We have a very interesting plan, which I'm happy to reveal here. Just while you were talking,
no comment on mine at all, though, Simeon. No.
I think it's good.
No, that's an excellent proposal. But the question is, I would say it's a humble proposal. It's a very useful proposal, and it's a good proposal. It's a good way you can instruct for people to, as constituents, instruct their elected officials and give their opinion. There's no doubt about that. But in terms of making this really have a huge impact, instant knee-jerk reaction, what I can guarantee, and hopefully the Daily Mail doesn't get too excited, is the mainstream media in Australia, they can hide the coverage. They can ignore us, and they probably will. And if there's 1,000 people, they'll say there was 50. And if there was 10,000 people, they'll say there was 300. You know, if there was 50,000 people, they'll say a handful of extremists, whatever they'll say. But we have a plan B. And it is controversial, but who cares? You know, let's just do it. All the footage, all the live coverage from Brisbane, from Melbourne, from Perth, from Sydney, Adelaide.
Excuse me.
I can guarantee you, Carl and Guru, that it will be airing non-stop on the Russian mainstream media channels, and a few 100 million people will see it anyway. And who cares what Channel 9 about what's Channel 9 ratings? 90,000 people watch the 6 o'clock news now. No one watches it. This will go viral. If this is happening in Australia at the same time in every capital city, this is very big news. We as a country, as a people in Australia, will be at the forefront of all the Western countries. There's a high chance that people in Germany and France, in the USA and Canada might actually follow what we do in Australia, where there's marches for neutrality everywhere. And Russia will see this, and it's important. Why is it important for Russia to see this?
It leads me back to the question of what's the march going to achieve then? If we're going to get everybody going to a march, that's one thing. But when they walk away from it, what will they have achieved?
So we go with both angles. We do what you said, and we do what Cossack's done. Cossack's got the media side arranged, so let's promote the other side and attack them with emails and letters.
Yeah, I would argue that they're both good ideas.
Yeah.
But I think you are underestimating one thing. Every one of those people that you see on the television, and all those big name radio people, and all those big print journalists that are thinking themselves so great with every article they write about Yosemite, all have huge egos, and they all think the people love them. But when the people are bombarding them with letters saying, "Hey, listen, dickhead, until you start telling the truth, I don't care what you say. I'm not watching you. I don't want your channel to succeed," then you'll find that they're going to start exerting pressure and pushing back against their news directors. The news directors are going to start pushing back against the management. The management are going to have nowhere to run because all the people watching them are going to desert them. So media only works with ratings, only works on fandom. You take that away and you start, instead of being blown away at seeing Karl Stefanovic walking down the street, walk over and say, "When are you going to start telling the truth?" Put pressure on them.
No, I like it. I agree. We're going to do all we can, folks. This is what we push on our channel too, Carl. Everywhere you can attack these guys, we need to be attacking them. Okay, because time's up.
And because it's an organic, broad movement for neutrality,
yep.
I'm sure that there'll be hundreds and thousands of different proposals and creative ideas of how ordinary Australians like yourself,
yep.
like everyone, like me, like Guru, like the thousands of others who are going, how they will get involved. And you know what? If we manage to achieve something, it's thanks to those people that actually did something. The sheep that didn't do anything during the whatever you want to call it, the SCAMD, the sheep that didn't do anything for all those years, they will remain sheep, and they will never get off the couch, and they will never say anything. So
it's up to us.
And it's up to us. Yes, it's up to us, guys. I'll let you guys continue because I'm actually on 1%.
Honestly, hang on, which embassy are we having dinner at tonight?
No. I'm going to screenshot my screen and I'm going to send it to you. Actually, on 1%. I've been on stop all day. I'm actually sitting in the car. But guys, keep going. Enjoy brainstorming. Let's just get the word out there and get everyone, get everyone on the streets for neutrality. It's just simple.
Will I see you on the 22nd in Sydney?
Absolutely. It's very simple.
Right. Shit, I think you're going.
There you gone.
Yeah, I think he's gone. There you go. All right, that's the end of the Aussie Cossack.
Character. We need them sort of characters. He's unreal.
Yeah, we do. Let me just bring up the poster again over the top of us. So lean that way, Guru. So that's the date for Sydney Town Hall, 12 p.m. Saturday, the 22nd of October. The March for Australian Neutrality. If that's something that you're into, folks, get along to it.
And we put out the word for a couple of. I think if we do get one bloke that we want to speak up there, I have locked in Ricardo to have a chat on the phone, folks. Unfortunately, I think he's going to be doing some stuff with Carl. I don't know. Carl's schedule changes more than a. Yeah, I was going to say something, but I better be careful about what I say. Yeah, an old lady's underwear in it or something,
But we can talk about that because
let's chat about that because
as far as I'm aware, dispatches have gone out. So I've been I haven't been allowed to say anything. So I'm not even sure if I am, but I have seen the email come out. Dispatches have come out, so I'm pretty confident that I am allowed to say a few things.
Go for it.
So yes, it's going to be as I said in the show description, October 22nd is going to be the biggest show in town in Sydney. October 23rd is going to be the biggest show in town in Melbourne because there will be a Ricardo Bosi event in Melbourne. It will be happening in Richmond and at a centre there. And not only will there be one show, there will be two. There will be a morning show that gets underway at around 11 a.m. from memory, where A1 have asked me if I would come along and MC. So that's my role. I'll make some opening remarks and introduce Ricardo. He will have no doubt a great many things to say. And at the end of that, we'll sit down and have a conversation. I'll get to ask him a few questions, and he hopefully will be able to provide a few answers. We will be live streaming those events. And when I say events, there are 2 of them in Melbourne on the 23rd of October. Then we jump, the Galactic Larrikins will be joining me for this little event too. And Guru, we would love to see you down. So if Cossack comes good on the idea, he said he was going to fly me to Sydney for your event. So if Cossack comes good on that, he'll have to fly me out of Melbourne for the day, but maybe you and I can catch the flight back, and you can come down and be in Melbourne for the 23rd show with Ricardo. Then we'll be driving to Canberra, because on the 25th, there will be an event in Canberra at the Hellenic Club. And then on the 27th, there will be, I think, another 2 events held in Sydney. Now, I can't immediately think off the top of my head what the Sydney event location is. I want to say it's somewhere in Western Sydney, but I'll get back to you with all those dates as soon as possible. These are A1. These are A1 events. These are not Voice of Freedom events. So I'm simply going along as a MC and someone to ask Ricardo some questions about whatever it is, the announcements that he's going to make. I assume that some of those announcements will refer to Victoria with the current election status in Victoria. But I can't help but think, Guru, the timing of these meetings, these public events, I'm encouraged. What can I say? I'm encouraged. I don't know why Melbourne want to speak.
I could say something that maybe my viewers might pick up on, Carl, but Melbourne may go off with a boom.
Well, there you go. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a great event. If you're an A1 supporter, then I think you will be notified how to get tickets to those events through the system that they normally contact you through. So don't bother contacting me. I have absolutely no way of getting you a ticket or guaranteeing you any way into there to do anything. So A1, if you are a supporter, or I think you're a member, or whichever way it works, you'll be contacted and told how to get your tickets and the event locations. So all I can broadly tell you is that Melbourne, Canberra, and Sydney. I can't remember the exact locations, even if I could tell you. So get in touch with A1 if you want to get along to those events.
Okay, and I can tell you that I'm going to need someone that can read plans, lay concrete, tie steel, do form work while I'm on the road with Carl. So if there's anybody out there that thinks, can come and help my wife, work with my wife and a labourer, all right, and fill Guru's boots while he's out trotting around the countryside with Carl, get on to me. Don't send me broke. Just get on to me. We're nice people, okay?
No, mate. Trust me, there's no trotting. The only flying that I'll be doing is if the Aussie Cossacks paying for it for me to come from Melbourne to Sydney.
Otherwise, we'll be driving on ELP, lowest one we can buy, folks. Don't you worry. That's how we do it.
I've just done the drive from Canberra today. It's a beautiful drive, and the humour's working beautifully. So as long as it stays working the way it's designed, it'll all be good. So that's gonna be a pretty big thing, I think, in the next few weeks, folks. And the live streaming, not that we've actually talked about it, but the live streaming, I'm pretty confident will happen on the Australia One channels, but I'm also hopeful that I will be able to stream it on one of my channels. If that is the case, it'll probably be None 2K. It's just so they can ban that one well and truly. I guess that's what'll happen. We'll figure out which channels it'll go on as we get a little bit closer. The Galactic Larrikins will be involved with all of that too. So
they're in the chat now, actually making smart ass comments there about take 10 blokes to fill Guru's boots.
Well, isn't that nice of them?
Yeah, it is nice. They're good guys. They're unreal.
They are very talented, and I've left them with all my equipment so they can figure out how to use it before they get to Melbourne. So
is that why they rang me up today looking for cash carry, them cash place converters joints? They said, Guru, you know where any of them like converter places are out of town? We don't want to get busted. Like, got all this gear.
oh, mate, it's all good. It's all good.
Nah, they're great guys, mate. They've been a real help to you, Carl, and they are, get onto their site too, folks. Galactic Larrigans. The guys are unreal, mate. Very professional. And just great all-round guys like most of us people in the freedom movement.
Yeah. So I want to talk about what we're doing in Victoria here and what happened in Singleton the other night. So if you haven't caught up with any of the other shows, folks, in Singleton on Wednesday night, they held their first People's Council meeting. They elected a mayor. Hello, Tom. Mayor Tom. Tom Turtle, we call him. You'll hate that. Tommy Turtle. But Mayor Tom... there is a deputy mayor, there is a administration and a treasurer, and of course now all the paperwork's going to Spiros for ratification. He is the legal arm of the People's Councils of Australia, and we'll be helping everybody out along this process. We managed to get others interested from Cessnock, from Maitland, and from Muswellbrook. So on my way back, we'll be going back and having their first council meetings. Hopefully, they don't have to wait for me. I just might be able to be there when it happens. It'll be very exciting. It's history making. And if you're in those towns, folks, you need to get behind it. Keep an ear out. The dates will be coming out in the next little while. That the People's Council is growing significantly. And tomorrow, Dave, we're in South Morang at the Zate Bar. Now, I'm told the Zate Bar does a pretty mean meal, so we're turning up for a meal early. And our show will be a weird one tomorrow. We're going to do it from 2:00. So joining me will once again be Darren Bergworth and Craig Cole from A1.
Cool.
Yeah, so we had a bit of a chat.
For a while. Yeah.
No, well, neither have I. When he rang, somehow or other during the federal election, we sort of keep missing each other, and we never got to chat. So today, when he rang, it was the first conversation that he thought we'd ever had. After a little bit of name throwing, there is a guy that I know who used to wrestle many years ago in the 90s when wrestling was a big thing in Melbourne, or just starting out in pubs and clubs around there. And Craig, of course, was a wrestler back in those days. I met him on the night of one of his first professional performances, should we say. And he was wrestling one of my mates at the time. So I reminded him of that this afternoon. We reminisced about the old wrestling days and
cool.
And deep dark nights at the Prince of Wales Hotel in Fitzroy Street, St Kilda. So I'm looking forward to having lunch with him tomorrow, and Darren's coming up too. We're going to talk about my place, and we're going to talk about People's Council. And I know you said, Dave, a little while ago you wanted to be mayor of Wollongong. It was a bit tongue in cheek, but this is a serious thing, and we've had a conversation about it. You believe you know people that would be fit for such a position, and maybe not just in the Wollongong area, because you pour concrete and put formwork up and put Rio everywhere, all over, different parts of southeast New South Wales. So you've probably got contacts everywhere for a variety of different councils. Did you happen to have a talk to that person? Don't use names. Don't do anything like that.
No. I will let you know. And look, I've got Carl, as you should say that I chased it up this morning when we spoke, and I said I'd get onto that. I've got an appointment with him on 3:40 p.m. on next Tuesday, actually. I'm going to sit down and meet with that guy. Now, he's an ex-politician from Wollongong here who's running the local councils and that. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting, folks. I'm going to have a chat to him. Now, I said, and I said, look, Guru would run for mayor. That was to psych a few people up. Now, how I look at it, folks, is if I was to take on that role in Wollongong, something would suffer. Either the live streams would suffer or the mayoral role would suffer. I believe both would suffer because I try to hang on to both, knowing me being me, and I wouldn't do a good job at either of them. So would I love to be your mayor? Yeah, I would. But I think there's other people out there that would do a better job and could actually give more time, because I think that I need to stay on this line with Carl, okay, and continue to, do what we do best, which is open our mouth, talk, and, convince people that things aren't right out there in the atmosphere and they need to have a look at them, you know what I mean, and try and bring people over to what's going on. So I think I'm more important on this side than I would be as a mayor, Carl. I think there's other people out there that could do a lot better job than me or put a lot more effort in that I would be restricted. Obviously, I'll have to work as well.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Well, we've all got to try and do that. Unfortunately, very difficult for me to do much work at the moment.
Yeah, well, it is when you're not in the state you live in, mate. Yeah, you're like, you know.
Yeah, well, luckily, and look, I suppose this is something we can talk about because it's been playing on my mind a bit. So my business is voiceovers, right? I do voiceovers for radio and TV commercials.
Yep.
Now, unless I'm set up correctly with my microphone and right sort of stuff, this sort of thing doesn't work for the professional voiceover world. I've got to be able to provide better quality. I can do that. It just requires a little bit more setup. And while I'm on the road and staying one night here, one night there, and driving 6, 8, 9 hours in between, it's not really possible to be doing that. Now, I do get time in the middle of the night where I could probably do it, but they don't pay me enough to really bother with it much anymore. It's in some cases it's worth less to me or more trouble for me to try and set all that equipment up and cost me more time, energy and effort to do it than it does actually pay me at the end of it. Bearing in mind that the industry when I originally got into it was reasonably profitable from a point where national rate, which they still advertise, is very, very good. People would probably die to learn that there are people in this country occasionally used to make $300+ for every 30 seconds work they read. And depending on how many states that ran in, they'd make a lot of money out of it. It was a very good industry. But unfortunately, the industry is bastardized by a whole bunch of cheap people who have cheapened the industry. And nowadays, you're lucky to get more than $15 or $20 to read an ad. So at the end of the day, nobody seems to value my voice. I've spent a long time getting my voice to be able to do the things that I can get it to do. In a professional sense, I mean, reading ads, doing character voices, writing scripts, making stuff work. But nobody values that in my industry anymore. And certainly when you've got a voice like mine, and I don't mean the quality or the sound of it, I mean how loud it is and what I tend to say, they don't want to hear about that. So I can't get back in. I'm not qualified to do anything else but talk or drive. That's it for me. I can talk.
Well, I think you're doing a great job where you are, Carl. So,
well, here's the question, Dave. Do I put something up on the Voice of Freedom website? Because I've got a few viewers. You've got a few viewers. You might advertise my services. Is that something I can do? If these people have got a business that are watching us and they want my voice to advertise it, if they're buying local radio or local television, I can supply voice tracks. I can supply the whole thing if you want. But I can't do it for $20. I can't do it for $50. I don't have to do it for $300. I think, that's excessive. But there has to be something better than 15 and something less than 300 where we can come to some sort of deal. Now, is that a service I should be trying to offer? Is that something that people would use? Is that is that in keeping with the ethos of what I'm trying to do here, Dave, with Voice of Freedom? This question has, to steal another person's word, vexed me. It's vexed me. Yeah.
So, Guru's guru. Okay, he tells it how it is. Okay, so I do have a problem with some people that are in this this movement of ours that maybe are in Europe at the moment. You know what I mean? On money that it could have come into the freedom movement. Okay, I do have some problems with some people who maybe have been accused of misplacing some money. Okay, and don't want to really own up to what they've done. I do not have a problem with people the likes of yourself, Carl, and others that I do know in this movement that putting 24 hours, 7 days a week, and that's what we do. Okay, people can tell you anything, mate. Well, I'm at concrete, Carl, I'm still answering the phone. I'm still doing what I'm doing, even though I'm at work doing what I'm doing. So, this is a 7 hour, a 24 hour, more or less, I'm up till midnight. I know what you do. So if this needs to be funded and Carl Liebold and the Voice of Freedom to have a PayPal and have the freedom movement help you get around the country and do what you're doing, Carl, I'm the first one to back that right up, right? And if you can fit stuff in between, that's a great way for you to do stuff. But again, you need to look at, and I'm just being honest here, you need to look at, can Carl Liebold do as good a job on the road doing what he's doing now if he also has something else to actually put into the mix, which you're on actual timetables to get stuff done. Now, you know, things go wrong in the movement, or you've got to go here, this happens, that arises, and you can't meet your contract. So I think you've opened up a bit of a can of worms, but you would have a lot to think about. I'm happy to see Carl Liebold, the voice of freedom, work for the people, and the people actually help to get you there, which is what's happened already, Carl. We know that you've had some people come to you and said, Carl, love what you're doing. Here's some funds, you know what I mean? And I know about all that, Carl. And as I said, you know, I don't have a problem. I don't do it because I'm guru and I would get criticised for it. You know what I mean? I'd be a grifter, the biggest grifter in Australia. But we need to fund our own movement, people. The cabal's not going to fund it for us. All they're doing is shutting it down. So, Carl, I'm all in for you having a PayPal or you doing whatever you have to do to keep this frigging thing on the road, keep educating, keep getting people like Bosey, Bergsworth and that out into the public eye and continue to do what you're doing. So there'd be my 2 cents on how I think you need to keep moving. I think we need to help you keep moving.
Well, you know, there's been a lot of talk in the last few days about people and what they make out of this being, you know, an influencer. and I'll be 100% honest with you, folks. Every cent that gets donated goes back into this some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
whether it goes into fuel to get me from place A to place B, whether it goes into buying a new cable, a new set of microphones, something that doesn't, you know, screw up every time we try and plug multiple cameras and microphones in. And that's not cheap shit, folks. In fact, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do is give you a television station type experience, and I'm trying to do it with pretend equipment. But I don't have the guts to ask you to fund me for the equipment we need to do it right. That's the truth of it, because I find this kind of thing very hard. To me, this feels like begging, and I find it very difficult. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not about being difficult. It's about you've took on a job, Carl. And as I said, you know, I don't know your financial status. I don't know anyone's financial status, but I know that no one these days is doing it easy, mate. We're all doing it tough. But I do know that I'm lucky that I can go to work and earn a few bucks, and I can earn good dollars as a concreter, Carl. So, you know, you and I have spoken about this. I'm a very fortunate man. I could do 2 days, 3 days a week, and that has sufficed me. I live on a boat, mate. You know what I mean? I can continue what I'm doing. I'm not traveling the country trying to stay in motels or sleep in other people's beds, which you have to do, or whatever else goes on. You know what I mean? So, yeah, again, Carl, it's about we need to move this movement forward, and we need to do that the best way we can. And if the people have got to be a part of that to help you do it, I'm here to help you do that, mate, because I know where we're both coming from. I know what has to happen. Carl Liebold, the voice of freedom, needs to keep moving.
The fact of the matter is I've still got to pay, between Laura and I, $400 a week to keep a room that we're not living in. And it's a room. It's not a house. You know, we get a room each. I've still got to pay that. I'm not going to be in it for the next 5-6 weeks. I've got to fund that. I've got to fund us on the road. I've got to keep fuel in the car. We've brought tents. You know, we're happy to sleep on the side of the road. That's not a thing. We have a magnificent little fire that travels with us. So, you know, we're not buying motels, although I did last night in Canberra because I didn't want to freeze my ass off.
Bloody cold down there, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, there are costs that, you know, the internet, to keep the phone going, to keep the computer going, to, you know, I've got 3 modems around here because we get shut down regularly. That means I've got to pay 3 different phone accounts.
We got 2 here, and then hotspot off the phones if we got to go back to the, you know, prehistoric, because they got the 2 Wi-Fis.
Yeah. So, you know, all that comes with a cost I am happy to bear. And like you, Guru, I once worked in an industry that did pay very well, and I would fund it completely myself if I could. If I was a gambling man, or if I thought I had a chance in hell with my friggin' luck to win Tats Lotto, I'd be buying tickets in it. But I don't. I have shit luck like that, and I see it as a huge waste of money. I'd prefer to spend the $12 on fuel to get to the next town to start a new People's Council, you know? So I do understand that there are people in this game. It's not a game in this, and it's not a business. I don't know what we call us, Dave. It's not a business. It's not a
it's
game.
A fight. It's a fight for survival.
Children.
A fight for survival, Carl, and that's probably what it is, mate.
And there are people here who've taken advantage of the generosity of others.
Plenty.
If you people knew just the harrowing experience that I put myself through when we had the failure of our night with the T-shirts, and the money that was a portion of the money that was donated by a very generous person to help further the movement, not to help me, not to give us anything great, to help further movement. And I blew through inexperience, stupidity, and wanting to do the right thing but do it quickly. I blew close to $5,000 of that money trying to get T-shirts and, stickers. In fact, I'll show you that sticker there, right? I'm not going to be allowed to see it.
Green screen's got it, yeah.
There you go. That our Magna Carta Night sticker. I mean, that thing cost me $2,000 just to get designed. I spent more money on it getting it printed. They're about $5 or $6 each to print. I can't sell them because it turns out that somebody else's work. I can't sell that because we'll get sued down the track, and they'll take all the profits, $2.50 or whatever, and then demand that we pay everything else out to them. So you've got
we need some graphic
idea
diviners.
how...
We need some graphic diviners and that out here on our channel, Carl, to step in and help you, mate. This is where we need to be able to get these things done. There's people out there that can do this sort of stuff. This is where I've always said we need to use our movement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is why the people are here.
And I've got to stop, when that happened, that was pure inexperience. That was me not doing my own due diligence, which I'm usually so good at doing. I didn't know, I couldn't check. I didn't know how to check that it was another image or a rip-off of another image. So I was devastated that this had happened and we lost this money that this gentleman had donated. And I, only by the grace of God, Dave, only by the grace of God, and that delay in the supply chain, did I not have to fork out another $2,500 for T-shirts that I couldn't have sold anyway if I'd have printed them on them. So, there was an upside. I didn't blow an extra $2,500. But these are I'm very conscious of the money that I get donated, folks. And the stuff that comes through the Voice of Freedom webpage, vofhq.com page, I can't thank you enough. It's $10, it's $15, it's $50, it might be $100 occasionally. If anybody thinks I'm getting thousands and thousands of dollars out of YouTube, I'm happy to show you what I get out of YouTube. I have to run 6 different channels. I don't get 6 different incomes out of it. I get one, and they ban that regularly. I watch my income go from $500 or more projected this month backwards as they remove videos.
You're better than me. I can't even keep a YouTube channel and try and monetize it. So you're one
Well, I
step
might be
ahead.
able to help you with that, brother. We'll have some fun with that. I might be able to help you
until they know I'm on the channel.
So there is all sorts of little things like that that go on in the background that people are unaware of, and I know there have been influencers, if you want to call them that. I am no way, I do not consider myself an influencer in any way. And I hope that you don't, people, because I'm not here to influence you. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to get this shit out of me. If you're happy to hear me get it out of me, then great. If it helps you understand or it helps you in any way, then I'm really happy for that.
We're just trying to get a job done.
Yeah, if we can join together and we can meet each other and grow our communities, and then I think we're all on the same page. We're all fighting together, Dave. You, me, we're all fighting for the same thing. We're all about growing our communities, and you're doing a huge job with yours. So, you know, while there are differences too, and this is something else that I wanted to get to, it's a sort of a different topic, and I want to thank Rob from the Galactic Larrikins for bringing this up last night. This is the first time I'm going to talk about it, but I'm not going to talk about it in the way you think I'm going to talk about it. Flat Earth. All right?
Come on, bring it on, baby.
All right. So last night we were having a post-production meeting after our show with Cass in Canberra. And during that post-production meeting, Rob from Galactic Larrikins and I brought up this movie, Moonfall, which I suggest people go and have a look at if you're at all interested. I think you find it on Amazon Prime. They went and had a look at it, led to a conversation, and Flat Earth was brought up. And I said, I don't talk about Flat Earth on my program. There is a reason for that. At the appropriate time, we'll have a conversation. But, you know, there is a reason. And Rob brought up round Earth versus flat Earth and how people are very divided about it. And there is no reason to be divided about it. And this is a great example of things people get divided over, right? Because this is going to be a big one when all this starts coming out. People's minds are just going to get assaulted with all sorts of different facts. And it's going to be fun to watch. But what does T minus mean? No, we're not going there yet. What does it matter if the Earth is flat all round? How does it change your life?
Obviously, if I want to go snow skiing, I want it to be a round one, so I've got a hill somewhere so I can, you know. And if I want to go
you'd want
skiing
a
on a
constant
lake,
hill, wouldn't you?
yeah, skiing on a lake behind a boat, I want a flat one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends on what you want, Carl.
But at the end of the day, what does it matter? We've lived a life believing it's round, but who cares at the end of the day if it's flat? Because it's still going to take 14 hours to fly from Brisbane to Los Angeles. It's still going to take the better part of 24 hours to fly from Melbourne to London. Nothing's going to change.
Love to do a show on this.
So
I'd love to do a show on it one day because I have a feeling that things would change because, look, once you know that you're grounded in something, folks, and you firmly believe it, that then gives you a what we call a foundation, a very good foundation to grow, you know, your beliefs and your thought patterns on. Okay, so I'm not saying whether it's round or it's flat. That's for you to make up your decision.
No, that's not the point. Yeah. The point is, why does there need to be a division between those who believe it's round or those who believe it's flat? Who cares?
Yeah, we should be enjoying the moment in the street when a flat earther meets a glober and they're sitting down having a discussion over a coffee. That's how the world should be.
Yeah.
Not calling each other dickheads, sitting down and go, well, here's my facts. Well, here's my facts, buddy. Great day, Ralph. Thanks, Sam. Boom, you know?
Yeah. So there's no point in abusing somebody because they believe the world is flat or they believe the world is round, because it's just your belief. And if you get into our Magna Carta 1215 learning centre,
15, look out. Yeah.
I had 1297 on the head a bit today. Been a long drive. If now I've lost my train of thought. Sorry. Go on.
It's round like a pikelet, I'm getting told.
Well, I make no judgment on it. I do think that watching Moonfall is worth having a look at. Well, Moonfall, isn't that a James Bond movie? It's whatever it is. It's on Amazon Prime. Well worth having a look at. Just simply from a mechanics perspective, well worth having a look at. But once again, it gets down to the division. Now, we've seen division in our movement. Dave, you and I have been talking about it for the last few weeks.
Yep.
Why do we have to be divided, folks? Why is there that division? What causes that division? Who causes that division? These are the questions that I want to ask. I need to ask of these people. Because division gets us nowhere. We proved in a conversation with Mike Holt a couple of nights ago, Fitz and I, diametrically opposed teachings and knowledge base, if you like. We proved that we could sit down and have a civil conversation. Nobody walked away hating anybody else. At least I hope Mike didn't walk away feeling that. And we all benefited from the conversation. We all learned something new. Why in this freedom movement does the division have to be vicious? Can't we just come together and agree to disagree until the facts are proven? We can agree that, you know, the 45th president may still be the 45th president, or may not. At the end of the day, right now, it makes no difference to you or I or our friendship. You know, you've just got to live and let live. Didn't somebody important say that once? I'm not so sure if it was Jesus, but it was one of the Beatles, wasn't it? Live and let live.
Yeah.
So,
well, there
you know,
go, Beatles.
Yeah. Probably a bad quote to grab.
Oh, my head in, eh? I love the Beatles, but I hate the Beatles.
So anyway, look, that's just my thoughts on that for the moment. Thank you.
Look, I think it's a can of worms.
Into the super chat. Thank you.
Yeah, you're getting a few people in there asking how they can donate, Carl. You're getting a lot of chats on the flat Earth, mate. You know, it's a great topic to go into. It really gets people, you know, involved in the chat and asking each other questions and calling each other dickheads and which is all right.
I sort of introduced it for that. This is the reason I don't talk about it, folks, because there is so much division and so much name calling, and so many people feeling they are so superior over others when they really have very little knowledge of anything of which we speak. Now, I'm not saying I've got any inside knowledge or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. I've got nothing like that. But why close yourself off to an opposition or an opposing argument or an opposing thought simply because you don't think it's right? Isn't it better to get the facts before you just try and shoot down the argument? Find out what the message is, find out who the messenger is, and then start thinking, well, why would they be trying to push this message? These, you know, critically thinking about the question, not just taking an emotional stance, I think is what I'm getting at. Yeah. Do you think that's what I'm getting at? I don't know.
Yeah. I can tell you that once we get this little thing over and done with, Carl, you know, and if I can get a Starlink set up, I might just start sailing south from here, Blake, once all our road work's done. And I can report back with some Wi-Fi and let you know if I can get through a little channel down there at a particular place, you know what I mean, that gets me out to another 13 continents. And who knows? Who knows? You know, like, who knows? Guys, we do not know. Like I said, now it's funny you should say this, Carl. You know, we done a show last night. Yeah. And, you know, we went a bit out there and exposed a bit of stuff. I had Glenn on the show. And, yeah, look, we don't know our history. We've been lied to all the way through. So it's going to be really exciting times to find out what actually has gone on. Like the tunnels under the Euphrates River we exposed on our channel tonight on the show. You know, all this stuff's starting to come, folks. It's all disclosures on the way. And as Carl talks about the freedom movement, disclosure is on the way in the freedom movement, okay? And it's just going to happen organically like this movement has been moving. Okay, but again, folks, you know, I was thinking about some stuff, and this will just let Carl off the hook here a little bit, but I was thinking about some stuff, but it's going on the back burner, Carl, because I think we need to just organically let this thing go instead of trying to put a little rein anywhere, if you know what I mean about our conversation earlier. So that's on the back burner for the moment, mate. But one thing I really want to stress, people, is that, you know, what you're looking for and what I'm looking for when I go to work and when I take contracts off people and do stuff like that, you know what I'm looking for in them? It's character.
Yeah.
Okay, it's character. And character will always shine through, you know. And I'm not going to bring anyone down in the freedom movement, but you've only got to watch people and see their character. Okay, it's pretty simple. You know, when I shake someone's hand, I know whether to put $8,000 on the job because the guy's going to skim me for $5,000 and I'm going to end up $3,000 in front and have the end of the laugh. You know, I can tell that now from experience. I'm 61. I'm wise about it. You know what I mean? Some people you're going to go in there and go, mate, I'm going to give you $3,000 off because I just think you're a decent guy, and do the job and lose a bit of money on it just for the sake of the enjoyment of working with that bloke.
Yeah.
and the experience that was, so life's not all about the holy dollar, folks. You know what I mean? The holy dollar has to get us moving, but life is about your character. Okay, that's what it's about. And I'm telling you, if Carl, just to go back 15 minutes here, if Carl needs help to keep this thing on the road, folks, this is our show. This is our station, the Voice of Freedom. And if we need to do that, hey, let's get in and do it. But back to another thing. Yeah, we've been divided, and somehow or other, we just need to pick people's character and judge on character, people. And I'm open to any criticism. As you know, I've taken a heap. Carl's probably taken some as well because he's hanging around me. You know what I mean? He'll cop some, don't you worry. And he has, I know. Okay, but at the end of the day, I've always said truth will be the only thing standing. And I still stand in it, folks. And what's the only thing that's been shining through lately? The truth.
Yeah. There is a lot of it coming out. Whether or not people are recognizing it for that or not remains to be seen. And that is as much true for the freedom movement as it is for what's happening in the world generally. I think there is so much going on, although I haven't seen any of it in the last day and a bit with our driving. And
what do you mean, Carl? What have you been driving around the country? You're not keeping up with your intel, mate. What's going on here? Is that why you're ringing me to get still what's going on?
I would ask the people to fund. I would ask the people to fund me travelling in a Learjet, but I don't trust the bloody pilots.
Hey, well, don't get a cow, because every time they fart or breathe soon or have a piss, you're going to get tax on it. So you're better off in the Learjet. Don't go by cow.
Yeah, but I'm going to have to carry 6 pilots because they've all got the spicy dart. And
hey, I know a pilot that's
redundancies.
I know a pilot that's unjabbed. I can send his number over.
Oh, great. Well, listen, mate. I got fully qualified in a Cessna 172, and I've got plenty of hours on Microsoft Flight Simulator. I reckon.
Yeah, if you got any trouble, ring Bosie. I'm sure he would have had a couple of flights somewhere, wouldn't he? He would have had jumped in a cockpit somewhere and had a blast, I'd reckon, guy like him.
Yeah, he's not sharing his personal transport with me just at the moment, unfortunately. So there are
great show, Carl.
We're talking about some interesting things. I think are going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks, and I think those Bosie shows are potentially going to be very revealing. And if you are an A1 member and you're in Melbourne, Canberra, or Sydney, then get in touch through the usual channels to make sure that you get your tickets to the event, and we'll let folks know where it is. Closer to time when I've got a vague idea myself.
Someone's just put a comment in there, Carl. Ask a pilot; they know it's level. Well, I asked a pilot, folks. I know a pilot. Okay, I have his number. Okay, I asked a pilot. He guarantees me it's round. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in.
A lot of people have some very interesting scientific methods of proving or disproving, particularly curvature of the Earth. I would ask you to consider one thing, folks. Next time you jump in a plane or are standing at the beach, why does the horizon always rise to meet your eye? If you don't understand what that means, have a good think about it. Go and look it up.
It means Pythagoras' theory doesn't work.
Why does the horizon always rise to meet your eye? It doesn't matter whether you are standing on the shore of the ocean or you're at 35,000 feet in a jet. The horizon always meets your eye. Why is that? Just a quick. Why is it so?
Why is it so?
Who used to say that? Professor Julius Sumner Miller. Beat you to it.
That's it. He wasn't. He was part of our childhood, Carl, wasn't he? Hey?
Mate, absolutely. Well, and I hated him. When I got home in the afternoons and Professor Julius Sumner Miller was on, I thought I'd been ripped off. It was like, God, why can't you put something better on? But anyway, I did watch him collapse a barrel.
Like Mr. Squiggle.
Yeah, like Mr. Squiggle. Mr. Squiggle or Captain
Bill and Ben, the flower pot man.
Yeah,
Bill and Ben, the flower pot man. Hey, half the viewers on here wouldn't even know what we're talking about, Carl.
Yeah, Zebedee and the Magic Roundabout. Autocat and Motor Mouse.
Yeah, Motor Mouse.
It's the Wolof. It's the Wolof.
Oh, mate. The days
mate. The Banana Split's one of my favourite shows of all time. So, that and HR puff and stuff, but there's a variety of reasons behind that.
That went for a little while and then just sort of faded away, didn't it, old HR? But yeah, they got a bit of merchandise out of there, Carl. They made a bit of money out of it. They got their mileage.
Well, in fact, Witchy Poo only passed away recently. The lady who played Witchy Poo, I think she was 86.
Wow.
86, something like that. And
There you go.
bit
of useless information.
One of the useless things you kind of learn when you're a radio announcer. You learn to pick up on useless information. I'm bloody full of it. So, all right. Look, I think I covered everything that I really wanted to touch on tonight, Dave. We'll just put your poster back up again because
thanks, Carl.
This is an important show, folks. It's all happening on the 22nd of October, Saturday the 22nd at the Sydney Town Hall from 12 p.m. The Aussie Cossack and Dave are behind this one. I believe you're in charge of the stage, Dave. Is that right?
Yeah, we're trying to get some pretty high-profile speakers that people will be quite impressed with. Carl Leibole was one of them, and I think he's going to be in Melbourne. So I've missed out there, folks, but we're going to the second best radio voice maybe known in Australia. There you go.
Oh, Sanderland.
And it's not Alan Jones, I can assure you of that.
Very good. Well, you've got me wondering.
But if not, you'll put up with me and a couple of other people, folks. But I'm sure, Rick. As I said, I've locked Rick in to speak at some time after the 2:30 mark. Whether he be on the road or not, he'll pull up. He'll take the phone for a few minutes, 5 minutes or so, and address the crowd. So, yeah, that's a good thing for the Sydney crowd. And if I can get that live streamed around, I certainly will. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we'll see how we go. But, yeah, folks, we just got to do it for us. All right? It's something that we have to do for ourselves here, folks, okay? So let's go and do it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Thanks,
all right, mate. Thank you very much. Love your work.
Thank you.
Love to Mel. And no doubt we will keep chatting over the weekend.
We shall.
Look forward to maybe catching you up in the next week or so at one of these events we might bump into.
Stay safe, stay dry.
Thanks, mate. Trying to do that in Victoria at the moment. There's a bit of rain around, so we'll see how we go. Appreciate your time tonight, brother. Cheers.
No worries.
See ya. And you folks, thank you once again for spending your Friday night, at least for an hour, listening to me moan about the world and what's going on. I'm sorry about earlier about the whole donation thing. I find it very difficult to talk about. So I thank you for everything that you do. Without what you do, I couldn't do what we do. I have no other form of income. So that's as honest as it gets for us. Not looking to make money out of it, just looking to make enough money to get to your town, to get you to stand up in a People's Council, so that we can together grow these communities and take our own country back, get rid of these bastards in government that are doing the shit they are, not just to us, but to our children. And that's the whole variety of stuff. Doesn't matter what you believe, whether you believe in the tunnels and the dums and the blood drinking and the sacrifices or not. That doesn't matter. You know they're doing shit to our kids. It has to stop. And I'll go anywhere to fight for our kids. And I'm lucky I can do it. I don't have a job like you good people, something that pays you good money anymore. Maybe a lot of you are in the same place. Maybe, you're very similar to me. The fact of the matter is I like driving. My daughter likes driving, and I love meeting people. So this is not a hardship for us. Driving the big kilometres, meeting new people, it's what it's all about. It's what we leave behind, we hope grows. And that can only happen if you participate. So if you find something in our shows that motivates you, if you find something in the idea of being part of a People's Council that motivates you, and you've heard it through this show, I couldn't be happier. It's just the best thing, because nobody else seems to be trying to help you. Nobody else seems to be trying to help me. I'm trying to help me, and I hope by helping me, I'm helping you. And if I'm helping you, maybe you can help the person beside you, and they can help the person beside them. And together, this community of ours is going to be absolutely amazingly strong. It will not be broken. And our life is going to improve immensely. Thank you, folks, for your support. If Dave said there were people in the chat, and I didn't see it, but there were people in the chat asking how to donate. VoFHQ.com. Go to our website. There's a donate button on there. It looks after it. It's a secure website. You don't have to worry about anything. And I thank you for anything that you choose to put forward to us. Rest assured, it all goes to keeping us on the road or paying for the 2 rooms that we're never in back in Brisbane and the storage facility where our stuff is. In fact, my daughter just got told today they're putting her storage up. It's a 3 by 3 metre storage unit. They're putting that up to $380 a month. So just ridiculous. And trying to find storage units in Queensland cheaper or bigger so we could put her storage unit and mine together, just about impossible at the moment. So, yeah, we do struggle. I've got to now go and pay the electricity bill, or not the electricity bill, pay the phone bills. Otherwise, there'll be no shows over the weekend. So there's another $300 odd we've got to pay just to keep 2 phones going. That's not to do with this modem or the other modem. They've all got $100+ bills on them every month. So, yeah, any money you give us is used to try and help you. It helps us get through, yet pays our bills. But our bills are not living high on the hog. We're not going out and eating out every night. In fact, very rarely do we go out and eat out at all. Only during the shows where somebody else is very kind and usually shouts me dinner. So I just want you to know that, folks, because in the coming weeks and months, this will be important. People are going to accuse us of taking money, doing this, that, doing the other. Not me, supposedly, or maybe they will. I don't know. I don't have any insider knowledge on that. I can prove every cent that's been taken, where it's been used. You're watching. I'm coming to you through some of it, this laptop and the last one that I broke. The equipment that we use that isn't working correctly yet. The trailer that carries it all around in. It's all from you. So I consider it my job now to carry your message. That's what I do. And I do it for $10 a day, $10 a week. Doesn't matter. As long as I can get to the next town, as long as I can help, give you some strength, give you some direction, let you know you're not alone. That's what I'm about. So I hope you understand that, folks, and I'm sorry if I did get a bit emotional. I didn't intend on talking about this at all tonight, but it is something that has been playing on my mind recently, and I just want to avoid any shit like that. I'm here to get one thing achieved, and that's to get our freedom back. That's it. I'm not about being divisive. I am about pointing out those who are. Mac, still waiting. Haven't heard a word from you. I'll say it again for the 3rd time. If you want to be a leader in this movement, take a step back from it. Got to know when enough is enough. So that's one I'm calling out. There are more. We'll get to them. There's no great rush. As Dave was alluding to, a lot of them seem to want to expose themselves. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, folks, I'll let you go and enjoy your Friday night. If you happen to be in South Morang coming to the show at the Zate Bar tomorrow, I can't wait to see you. Come and join us for lunch, and the show getting underway at 12 o'clock. Darren Bergworth coming, Chris Cole's going to be coming, Craig Cole's going to be coming, rather. And, yeah, it should be a fairly interesting show. We'll talk a bit about what's going on with the water at the moment around Victoria and some of the other things that are coming up with the Victorian election. And, of course, we will be talking People's Council, where we want you to stand up. Are you the mayor of your new People's Council? Maybe you could be. Maybe you could be the administrator, the treasurer, the deputy mayor. We want doers in your community. And bear in mind, you don't need to know anything about common law. There seems to be some sort of story around going, you've got to be knowledged in common law. You do not. All right? You do not. The only law you're going to need is the law of Spiros, and he is your litigation arm. So see you at South Morang tomorrow from 2 o'clock for the show, 12 o'clock for lunch. And there will be 2 shows tomorrow. If you are a Magna Carta fan, a Magna Carta 1215 fan, you'll know that Fitz and I have alluded to a fellow called Will Keats quite often. Will is part of the 1215 movement in the UK. I think you'll find our chat with Will Keats tomorrow pretty interesting. Looking forward to getting him online and finding out what the movement's doing in the UK. So that's coming up tomorrow after our live show from South Morang. Thanks again for everything you're doing for us, folks. Thanks again for standing up. Thanks again for your support. Thanks again for going to your next door neighbour, going to the person who's not quite awake yet, putting your arm around them and saying, we know what's coming and we'll be here for you when you need some answers. That's what it's all about. Thankfully, folks, I've been on the road for the last 2 days, haven't seen too many dickheads. I'm very impressed indeed. Having said that, I nearly cleaned up a kangaroo not 3 kilometres from Parliament House last night. Missed it by that much. I shit you not. I don't know how there's not fur in the number plate. Very close. Anyway, Canberra, wonderful place. Kangaroos everywhere. They're the dickheads on the roads.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!